Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a trainer who just reached Legend rank in the Master League with a very unconventional team built around Pokemon that were strong in previous metas. Now, these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Alice, so many thanks for the battle submission. This team is built around the core of Shadow Mewtwo and Yveltal, both Pokemon that dominated previous Master Leagues, but are a lot less common today. This trainer shows these Pokemon still have play in today's meta, and even runs Flamethrower on Shadow Mewtwo to absolutely crush the crowns. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, picking up a type neutral lead, Shadow Mewtwo versus Shadow Rhyperior. Shadow Rhyperior ever deadly in neutral matchups. It's going to be putting up an early shield, respecting a potential Ice Beam. Instant no shield from the Mewtwo, trying to call the Breaking Swipe. It is the Breaking Swipe, and that does not knock out. Now Mewtwo will make it to Psystrike number 2. This Psystrike will not be shielded. There's a quick switch into Yveltal, which snipes down Rhyperior. Yveltal now up a shield and up energy exactly where it wants to be. In comes Ho-Oh, and this opponent has absolutely zero respect whatsoever for Kyogre lead. Yveltal will fire off its Legacy Oblivion Wing. That will connect for some very nice damage. Opponent farms up to 100 energy and will now go for the Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire does get shielded. Yveltal will get to an Oblivion Wing one turn before the Brave Bird is reached. Now the opponent has to decide, is it worth the final shield? They say yes. But from here, this is a very safe no shield, as Kyurem Black up a shield and up a turn should beat basically everything. In the back is going to be the Crown Form Zacian, and this is going to be game over for the opponent, as Crown Form Zacian will simply get outpaced here. They do not have the energy needed to make it to the back-to-back close combats. They can make one move, but Kyurem Black still has the shield to hide behind. There's Fusion Bolt number 2, and that's going to be good night to the Zacian. All that's left is a very low health Ho-Oh. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Moving into game number 2, and now we have Zacian leading into the Shadow Mewtwo. This is the exact matchup why this Mewtwo is running Flamethrower, as Flamethrower will hit for devastating super effective damage. Does the opponent respect it? They do not, and they pay a heavy price as they lose 90% of their Zacian in a split second. Zacian will go for the Behemoth Blade. We're going to see a save switch into Lunala, and that's going to be answered with Kyurem. Clearly making the read that Yveltal will have more play in the back. We see a nice no shield calling that it is just going to be the Shadow Ball, and now Kyurem doubles up on Fusion Bolts. Fusion Bolt will be easily knocking out Lunala. Opponent's so low on the Zacian, they probably can't even send that in, so they will need to bring in their third. They're going to bring in the third. It is Palkia. Things could get a little bit tricky here. Palkia up energy, always scary. Quick switch into the Mewtwo. Mewtwo will get the Psystrike. Oh, what a prediction! Beautiful catch from the opponent. The perfect prediction as they catch the Psystrike onto Zacian. Back in comes Palkia, but unfortunately for the Palkia, they do not get the farm down, as with the energy in reserve, we see Mewtwo force the final shield. And now it's all up to Yveltal, and Yveltal should be able to take home this win. Yveltal does have very good bulk to it. The opponent cannot farm it into Spatial Rend range, so Spatial Rend would not even be enough to knock out. Yveltal still does have a shield, may as well use it here on the Spatial Rend, and now fire off the Oblivion Wing. The opponent has already taken quite a bit of damage, so Oblivion Wing plus one additional Sucker Punch will secure this win. The opponent did make a last-second Spatial Rend, but it's just simply too little, too late. We see a very familiar lead in the next match as Shadow Mewtwo is once again greeted with Shadow Rhyperior. Shadow Rhyperior just absolutely everywhere in the Master League. Unfortunately, you cannot escape it. Mewtwo with a big pacing advantage though fires out the Psystrike, and the threat of an Ice Beam grabs a shield from the opponent. Opponent throws on alignment, a massive misplay. They bait with the Breaking Swipe. Mewtwo gonna throw at the last possible second and go for Psystrike number 2. Shadow Psystrike from the Mewtwo picks up the knockout. Down goes Rhyperior. In comes Water Urshifu, answered with Yveltal. There's a quick switch to Palkia, and Palkia will now be met with Kyurem. This is a losing matchup for Kyurem, but Kyurem will fire off the Fusion Bolt. Opponent no shields, and that's going to seal this game. Palkia was their only hope of winning, as this game will be won by Yveltal making double Oblivion Wing. Nice undercharge by the opponent to get a little bit of extra farm. They'll make an Aqua Tail, but Yveltal does not care about Aqua Tail whatsoever. Able to shake off that damage, get the full farm down, and now Urshifu has to try and counter down, but Yveltal's stats are just simply too good. It's never gonna happen, trainer. Back-to-back Oblivion Wings, and this is GG's. Game over. Even throwing one extra sucker punch here, going for the Oblivion Wing. Oblivion Wing knocks out the Urshifu and secures a win and a 2 shield flex as well. Shadow Mewtwo sees the worst case lead leading into Lunala. There's the safe switch into Kyurem. Opponent with a slow switch out into the Zacian. Zacian already has pacing problems in this matchup, and those problems are made even worse by the fact that they are down energy. Opponent will try and CMP tie. Will they go for the Behemoth Blade or will they go for the close combat? They're going to go for the close combat. Now they're going to be debuffed, and this means Kyurem can make a play for switch. This poor Lunala's not going to know what hit it when it gets lined up into Yveltal. One final attempt at a CMP tie for the opponent, but Kyurem not going to fall for it, just going to get that full farm down. Opponent probably not going to want to send in the Lunala here, and they do not. Instead, they're going to be bringing in their own Kyurem. Kyurem with energy might be able to sweep this for the opponent. Aggressive switch to the Shadow Mewtwo. Opponent not switching out. Potentially worried about a Shadow Ball. Instead, they're going to stay in, go for the Fusion Bolt. It does not KO. And now this Psy Strike will deal devastating damage. Psy Strike is going to land. Kyurem now deep into the red health. And it's going to be all up to Yveltal to close out this game. Yveltal going to look for the farm down. They switch into Lunala. And look at Lunala. It's just Yveltal food. Yveltal doesn't care about Moonblast whatsoever. Shakes off that damage. Will get the full farm down. And the opponent is going to resign the match. So despite a terrible lead, team working exactly as intended in that match. Picking up a bit of a tricky lead in the next game, Shadow Mewtwo into Palkia. Shadow Psy Strike will always inflict devastating damage, grabbing an early shield, but the biggest worry for Mewtwo is potentially just getting farmed down in the 2 shield. Mewtwo will put up a shield, opponent will always just be spamming out Aqua Tails in this matchup. If Mewtwo can make a 3rd Psy Strike, that would be really, really nice, but I have my concerns. Mewtwo gonna try and get there, opponent will fire off the Aqua Tail, and Mewtwo just opting to let this go, understanding that it's probably not getting a 3rd move. Opponent will not stay in, instead they pivot into the Zacian. Yveltal farming up to the Focus Blast, but will not get there. Opponent will get to the Behemoth Blade. Can Yveltal survive? Barely, not by much. Yveltal hangs on with fractional HP to make the Focus Blast and get that Zacian low. In comes Kyurem. Kyurem does get a very nice farm down. Is the opponent in a range where Fusion Bolt will KO on the Palkia, or will the Free Shock be needed? It's Lunala in the back, and this Lunala is about to have a frosty surprise. Free Shock from the Kyurem is gonna land. They survive on 1 HP, pivot back into the Palkia, but it's just too little, too late. Fusion Bolt into the Palkia after the Shadow Claws will be enough to KO, and Kyurem just such a deadly closer as it's able to sweep that endgame and secure the win. Looks like that was a 5-0 set, and we have the shiny Bullaby as well. Very nicely done. We move to set number 2, Shadow Mewtwo into Rhyperior. This time it is the regular Rhyperior, so the non-Shadow not going to have nearly the same fast move pressure, but Rock Wrecker is still incredibly threatening. Opponent will still respect the Ice Beam. Mewtwo again calling that it's not going to be the Rock Wrecker. Mewtwo right once again. Rhyperiors clearly just do not know how to click the Rock Wrecker button. All they do is throw Breaking Swipes. Big damage from the Psy Strike. Aggressive pivot into Yveltal. Yveltal answered with a Charm Primarina. That's not what you're hoping to see as Yveltal. Primarina not too common anymore, as it does have a very tough time into Zacian. But in this matchup, it's going to look for a full farm down and gets there as the Oblivion Wing is unable to be reached. Unfortunately, there's 2 shields to hide behind, but Kyurem cannot shield charms, so Kyurem will take quite a bit of damage. Opponent will be firing off energy. They will get a shield from the Kyurem. Kyurem gets the Fusion Bolt. This will be the end of Primarina, but Kyurem has already lost a decent amount of health purely off of the charms. Opponent gonna bring back in the Rhyperior, and there is the catch onto the Mewtwo. Perfectly timed, denying their energy. It's gonna be Kyurem versus the world. Kyurem wants the Free Shock, whatever's in back, and clearly whatever's in back was weak to Kyurem, as the opponent will concede the match. We've got another Crown Form lead in the next match. This time it's going to be the Crowned Zamazenta with Ice Fang into the Mewtwo. Mewtwo going to farm up to the Flamethrower, opting for a Psy Strike bait. Psy Strike will connect, and even if it's a bait, it will do some pretty nice damage. Opponent catches a Psy Strike onto Lunala, but they're about to regret that decision as in comes Kyurem. Kyurem going to look for a full farm down. Opponent throws on 7. This is not enough for a Moonblast trainer. That's an easy no shield. It's just going to be the Shadow Ball. Kyurem gets a full farm down, exiting with a ton of energy. and that's going to make life very difficult for this opponent. They bring in the Zamazenta, but they can't afford the CMP tie here because that's a CMP tie that they will lose. Zamazenta will fail the farm down, forced to fire off energy. We see an 11th hour shield. You couldn't even see that shield animation. It was pressed so late, but Kyurem does put up a shield, forces the final shield, and now switches back into the Mewtwo. Mewtwo, unable to make the side strike, just gonna let this go, and it's gonna be all up to Yveltal. Yveltal will probably have to shield once as it goes for the aggressive resisted Sucker Punch farm down. The goal is for Yveltal to try and overwhelm whatever's in the back with energy. So Yveltal will put up the shield as Zamazenta will be firing off its move in the back. Oh no, it's another bat. Lunala got taken care of by the Kyurem, and in comes Dawnwings to immediately resign the match. What do you know? Another lead, another Shadow Rhyperior. I cannot wait until Shadow Rhyperior exits the Master League meta. Rhyperior going to be hit with the Side Strike. That will grab the shield. Rhyperior throwing energy. Will a Rhyperior finally throw a Rock Wrecker? No, they will not. But they do get a debuff, ensuring that they will be able to hang on here and survive this Side Strike. Opponent ends up double shielding anyway, and now in comes Yveltal. Yveltal, will they decide to respect the Rock Wrecker? No, the no shield, it's another breaking swipe. Trainer Rhyperior learns multiple moves, and now in comes Zamazenta. But this poor Zamazenta is about to have a very bad day, as there's a Focus Blast from Yveltal aimed right at its direction. Focus Blast lands. Zamazenta barely hangs on, but this just means farm for Kyurem. Kyurem would love an energy head start, as it needs to get to a free shock if it wants to inflict some meaningful damage. So now it has an energy advantage. In the back is going to be Palkia, and Palkia is about to have a very, very bad day, as free shock will inflict big damage. Palkia barely hangs on. It's a CMP tie with the Aqua Tail. Now the opponent will look to pivot back into Rhyperior. There is the switch into Rhyperior and the catch onto the Mewtwo. Say it ain't so. This opponent is getting absolutely cooked. Opponent will fire up the breaking swipe, fishing for a debuff, fishing for a win con, but there's just no hope. Trainer, there's a button at the top left of your screen, and it's time you press it. Free shock, massive overkill, knocking out Rhyperior and securing the win. We get another crown form on the lead in the next match. Shadow Mewtwo into Zacian. The previous Zacian just did not respect the flamethrower. Oh, they try and catch a flamethrower onto Ho-Oh. The catch attempt is unsuccessful, and now in comes Kyurem. Kyurem will be putting up a shield as the opponent should be firing off the Sacred Fire, fishing for the debuff that unfortunately they do get. Ho is very bulky, but that means that once the Fusion Bolt is debuffed, Fusion Bolt is actually survivable, so a bit of a tough break there, as it is a true coin flip, a 50-50. Ho-Oh now in a position to force shield or switch advantage, and they will get switch advantage as Kyurem is going to no shield. In comes Yveltal. Yveltal will get a 3 Sucker Punch head start. There's still so much energy loaded on that Zacian, but the opponent gonna bring in a Waterfall Primarina instead. Waterfall Primarina, a bit of an interesting choice. Waterfall is not doing a lot. The Oblivion Wing will inflict some nice damage, and the opponent only throws a Hydro Cannon. They'd have to farm up more if they wanted to get to a Disarming Voice. And honestly, now this game probably just feels like a win, because they're going to be saving the shield for the Zacian, but Zacian will get outpaced, and they don't save the shield for the Zacian! Oh my goodness, they shielded the wrong Pokemon! That's a huge error from the opponent, and now it's just Flamethrower time. Mewtwo gets to launch Flamethrower at the shieldless Zacian. That's going to connect, and that's just too much damage. Shadow Mewtwo gonna be no shielding here, saving the shield for the next match as Yveltal Sucker Punches down the Zacian, and this team just keeps on winning. Hopping into the final match, great lead leading into Urshifu. Opponent will save switch into Zacian. Zacian immediately put under pressure by the flamethrower. Mewtwo can just strictly outpace in this matchup. Opponent will put up the shield, but their Metal Claws are not doing enough to prevent a third flamethrower from being reached by this Mewtwo. Mewtwo is going to be shielding up the Behemoth Blade, looking to overfarm ever so slightly, and now we see Flamethrower number 2. Will the opponent double shield? No, they will not, and that's good night as Zacian gets KO'd. In comes Kyurem. We see an immediate pivot out into Kyurem, but unfortunately down on energy in the mirror means this is tough. We see the no shield calling the bait. That's the free shock. Free shock does not knock out, barely able to hang on and fire off the fusion bolt. The opponent switched into Urshifu, and they pay a heavy price as they take quite a bit of damage. In comes the Mewtwo. Mewtwo will get a full farm down. No! The opponent hangs on very low HP. Mewtwo forced to burn a shield, and that is so unfortunate. Back in comes the Kyurem. Kyurem will have to respect the Psy Strike here, and then we will see the switch into Yveltal. But unfortunately, I assume Freeze Shock will just be picking up the KO here. Yveltal, no shields left to hide behind. Super effective Freeze Shock. Yveltal gets KO'd, and unfortunately, that game will end in defeat. And it turns out I was mistaken. That was not the final match. This is actually the final match, but leading Mewtwo into Dawn Wings is a pretty rough spot to start in. Again, the Kyurem Black save switch able to lure out Zacian, which is quite nice. We did see Kyurem Black flip this before. Unfortunately, this time the Fusion Bolt is CMP tied. Will the opponent go for the close combat again? No, they go for Behemoth Blade, obviously the more expensive attack, but them not being debuffed means that I don't know if Kyurem can actually flip this now. Kyurem has taken a lot of damage from these Metal Claws opponent, trying to CMP tie once again, but this should set up a farm down for the Mewtwo. So Mewtwo can go for aggressive farm. Opponent wants to deny that farm. They hard pivot into a Dawn Wings. Trainer, you are going to regret that decision as in comes Yveltal. Yveltal going to get hit with the Moongeist Beam, even for a resisted move that still does big damage. In comes the Zacian. Zacian gets fully farmed down. In the back, I saw the typing. That looks like a Kyurem to me. Yveltal, no baits, going for the Focus Blast, but the shield does come up. But unfortunately for them, their Shadow Claw, they have no way of damaging Yveltal by farming it down. Fusion Bolt will be shielded, but it's just not enough. Focus Blast is reached. Focus Blast KOs. Oh no, it doesn't KO. The opponent conceded the match right as the Focus Blast landed. So the game is won, but the damage does not land. All in all, big congratulations to this trainer on making it to Legend in the Master League. I honestly thought Pokemon like Shadow Mewtwo and Yveltal didn't really have any play anymore. So it's really cool to see a trainer thinking outside the box, bringing back some old meta, and even when power creep in the Master League is at never before seen levels, still finding ways to have success with it and taking advantage of the fact that so many trainers are now relying on the Ghost Psychics, Lunala, and Dawn Wings to provide neutral play in the Master League, and running a Pokemon like Yveltal that can absolutely shut them down. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.